friends are since.
Tonight I am playing a musical show. I'm going to be playing some of the tracks from my brand new album, So You Made It to the Fire, which you can download on Bandcamp and all that kind of crap. There's a link somewhere. But I've been asked to play at this electronic music night called Attack Release, which is put on at a place called Bar Block here in Glasgow. I've been along to a bunch of their events in the past and they're pretty good, and they finally plucked up the courage to unleash me on the masses, so we'll see how that goes. I'm curious to see how this is received, because normally the people that are performing are much more experimental with kind of longer set times, or longer tracks I guess I should say. They're focused around modular systems in particular, and even though I do have a big modular system behind me, I'm just going to be turning up with a Dirtywave M8 and a bunch of video gear, so it might not be what is expected or even desired, but it's what they're going to get. I've spent the past couple of days trying to set everything up. Famously, I am very last minute with these things, although I really wish that I wasn't. This time I was a wee bit more prepared, but unfortunately I discovered that the faders, or at least one of the faders on my trusty Behringer BCF 2000 MIDI controller has stopped functioning. Now that's not a big surprise since it is about 15 years old and I do kind of throw it about, but it did kind of throw a spanner in the works because I use the Behringer BCF 2000 to kind of break out some of the features of the M8, like track volume control and effects and all that kind of stuff. So I had to spend a bit of time figuring out what I was going to do, and after trying out a whole bunch of other MIDI controllers, landed on the Behringer BCR 2000, which is the same kind of deal except that it's got rotary encoders instead of faders. Anyway, that's the idea. Everything is set up now. I've already done a video in the past talking about how I use the Behringer BCF 2000 with the M8 in particular, and how I send MIDI data between the two of them to make sure that everything's kind of synced up and all of the faders are in the correct position for each track. But I'm probably going to do another video talking about that in a wee bit more depth, because it is something that I keep getting asked about, and I found a few ways to make the process a bit more efficient, because every time I tried to convert a new song to use my MIDI controllers, I had to go through the whole mental practice of figuring out what to do again, and actually I had to watch my video, which is kind of embarrassing. But anyway, if you are wanting to use a MIDI controller that has the MIDI feedback functionality in it, then I have put a link to a spreadsheet down below that I've put together to make things a wee bit quicker, in that it gives you the calculations between hexadecimal, decimal, half decimal and all that kind of crap, so you can just quickly reference it and find it rather than having to use the brain, which I was doing before, which was rather foolish. I'm filming this in a very shoddy way because I'm waiting for a taxi. I missed my train because I was late getting ready, and I can't really be arsed carting my arse with all of the bags that I need to take over to the next train station. So I'm doing an introduction in this format. My taxi's about to arrive, but if you look over here you can see the gear that I'm taking. I've got a big backpack full of shit. I have a wee bag thing which has got my cameras and my M8 in it, hopefully anyway. And then I've got my wee case here which has got my Edirol V4 for video mixing, and the P10 which is the video sampler. I'm going to be using a couple of different bits of gear tonight to make things a wee bit more interesting, like the SP404, but we'll come back to that because I know I promised you I was going to sell it. I can hear the taxi phoning me, so I'd better run. Well,
what?
Are you prepared?
Yeah, I've just started looking at the box and realised how much I understand everything that's in there. So, what's of mine? What am I using?
That and some of this. Oh, and this.
Oh, of course. Fungus is spreading.
The other day, some guy was asking how I knew Gordon Barr, aka Tupper Werewolf, and he was asking about the name of the music. And I didn't want to tell him All My Friends Are Sins, because that's a bit wank. And I said cup fungus, and he was like, fungus. And I was like, that's a better name, fungus.
So we're changing?
I don't think I can.
Why?
I think it's against the rules.
Fungus. Fungus.
Gonna have to bleep out every time. Can you hear that annoying beep?
No, it's just your ears.
Which one do you prefer?
I'm enjoying this veggie one, but I wouldn't mind a bit more meat.
So it turns out that making a vlog whilst you're trying to play a gig is much more difficult than I thought. I need other people around me to make me look interesting that I can just hand the camera off to, although, as you can see, I didn't take much care of the camera at this point. But anyway, setting up didn't take that long, but there were so many fucking wires that I couldn't believe it. I had all my video gear here. Lee is sitting with it. He's practicing because I just kind of threw it all at him and expected him to figure it out. I did design this signal flow thing to help me figure out what I needed, but in practice, it's not quite as simple or straightforward as that. You can see that I've got a laptop here, and my idea was that I was going to connect up the M8 to the web display so that I could have the actual M8 screen on the big screen mixed in with all my video effects and stuff, which would have been pretty cool. However, in practice this didn't work because there was a huge amount of interference, and I think I'm going to have to get some kind of ground loop isolator. Anyway, what you're about to see is Isaac, who's actually on after me but is on before me in this video just because.
Hello, 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 good evening folks. Lovely to see hundreds of folk in here tonight. We've got 3 awesome acts, some pretty fucked up acts tonight actually. First up we've got All My Friends Are Synths. And then, who the fuck is this? What's going on? I think I'm going to leave you to All My Friends Are Synths.
I'm just going to pause the video here quickly to explain what's going on because it might not be all that clear from this hideous angle. But at the moment, Fraser, who runs the night, is introducing the various acts, and I told him that we were going to go and get ready and we would come on the side of the stage once he'd announced this. And as he was doing so, Lee suggested that we go through the crowd with these awful masks on, and the first thing Fraser saw was these lip monsters appearing through a sea of faces, and this was a genuine reaction. He didn't expect it, so that explains why he's so fucking perplexed.
This train is ready to leave.
So that was the gig. Everything seemed to go relatively well. I was fairly surprised, pleasantly surprised, that so many people turned up and also that they didn't heckle and boo us off the stage. So we managed to get through the set without any major incidents. Although, to be honest, there were a number of minor incidents with my equipment, as you know, is to be expected, I guess, at this point. First of all, my video camera that I've been using, a wee Zoom Q2N thing, which I've taken on a bunch of tours and all that kind of stuff to document what's going on. The USB port in that fell out or something, so the battery ran out before the end of the gig, so I didn't get a good kind of recording of everything. You saw the kind of crappy angle it was facing anyway. The Zoom recorder I had for the audio, which was plugged into my mixing desk, didn't work either, and it only recorded the live ambient audio, not the actual outboard. So that was brilliant. Clearly I'm not cut out for this fucking business. The biggest mistake though of all, or the biggest kind of fuck up, was that when I went up to play, it was kind of like if you're a guitarist and your nightmare scenario is where you stand up on stage and you just can't remember how you play guitar, which also has happened to me a couple of times, but it was like that. And I pressed play on the M8 and then I just couldn't remember how to move on to the next section of the song, so I let it loop for a wee bit, trying to figure out how I could test this without, you know, fucking up and everything just stopping, which would not have been the greatest introduction ever. I did manage to figure it out, but I had to play it in a wee bit of a different way from what I normally would, so I mean, how does this shit happen? Luckily, I have big plans. I'm going to hopefully be playing a lot more this year, starting with the Supper Club in Edinburgh at the Safari Lounge this Saturday, which is kind of meaningless to tell you because by the time you see this video it'll be too late. But anyway, I'm going to be trying to do some more gigs. If you're ever in Glasgow and you want to see electronic music, then you should go to Attack Release. It's on once a month at the moment. Fraser, who runs it, does a great job of looking after everybody and really finding local and further afield electronic artists to kind of promote and give a space to and all that. So thanks a lot, Tim, for having me. And if you want me to come and play in your town, then fucking drop me an email and give me a couch to sleep on, and I can horrify the locals in your particular region as well. Before I go, I'm going to leave you with a wee bit of footage that Lee recorded. He was the guy that was doing the visuals and stuff for me so that I could concentrate on the music. He's been playing, you know, live stuff with me for years and years in different forms, and he said that he would record some video throughout the set, and I was really looking forward to seeing it, because at one point he went into the crowd and all this stuff, but when I got it back, it seems like Lee somehow has managed to turn on the slow motion button, and so I've just got all this weird footage of us moving at glacial speeds like this. So I decided to use it because, you know, it looks pretty cool, and I've set it to a track that I have released on my latest album. Another plug, go buy it, download it, listen to it, whatever. Written entirely on an M8. Anyway, that's what you're going to be watching as we close out this video.
Well, I guess there's nothing for us to worry about.